Hey guys, how you doing? Okay, so today I realized last night after the stream when I turned my light off when I was on with Jack that I think I like the lighting better without the light because I've been kind of fussy and I think I like it better without the light. But I just noticed when I change screens around, the lighting will change because what's lighting me is the computer screen. So lighting may change here and there, but you know, whatever. So today is Sunday and we are doing Etiquette. I do have an open window in New York City, so I may close it at some point if it gets too distracting. But today's Etiquette, and let's see where we are at. On the screen here, we have, the topic is, I think, Chapter 2 or something in Emily Post. She's the leading author on Etiquette, American Guide to Etiquette. And this is a book that she published in 1922. And, so we're on Chapter 2, which means no copyright. We're on Chapter 2, which is on the street and in public. So this is a fun one. And some of the things that we can go through. Let's see how much we can actually get through. But we have walking on the street, gentlemen, and bundles. What's a bundle? Okay. A gentleman offers his arm. Cute. A lady never on the left. Awkward questions of payment. The restaurant check in stores or shops. And regard for others. And that's the basic principle of etiquette, is regard for others. You know what I mean? That's it. Okay. So let's get to it, shall we? So here is the book. I sorted it out before I got on screen. So yay, getting things smoother. We gotta go back. So yeah, last thing we did was if you guys should check it out if you haven't seen it, but talking about bowing and doing the hat lift, a cute little thing. So a bunch of cute stuff that I really think we gotta bring back. I love it. But oh shit, this is chapter 5, not chapter 2. Got the Roman numerals here. Chapter 5. On the street and in public. Walking on the street. A gentleman, whether walking with 2 ladies or 1, takes the curbside of the pavement. He should never sandwich himself between them. Okay? You always take the curbside, no matter how many women you're with, 1 or more, and never sandwich yourself in between the women. A young man walking with a young woman should be careful that his manner in no way draws attention to her or himself. Too devoted a manner is always conspicuous, and so is loud talking. So again, when we talk about the difference between a simp and chivalry, this is exactly a distinction between the difference, because he's never too devoted a manner is always conspicuous. It's like weird. Don't be weird. Don't be too devoted. Be polite. Be courteous. But okay, calm down. You know what I mean? And I hate people that talk loud in public. So obnoxious. Under no circumstances should he take her arm or grasp her by or above the elbow and shove her here and there, unless, of course, to save her from being run over. He should not walk along hitting things with his stick. I almost thought it says he shouldn't walk around hitting things with his dick. But yeah, no, he should not walk around hitting things with his stick. The small boy's delight in drawing a stick along a picketed fence should be curbed in the nursery. And it is scarcely necessary to add that no gentleman walks along the street chewing gum, or if he is walking with a lady, puffing a cigar or cigarette. All people in the streets or anywhere in public should be careful not to talk too loud. My God, what a concept. Yes. See, this is what etiquette is all about. Okay, let me just check in on you guys. People are saying hey. People are getting in here. Don't be a creep, gentlemen. Be a gentleman. Don't be a creep. Be a gentleman. Okay, yeah. So let's get back into it. So don't talk too loudly. They should especially avoid pronouncing people's names or making personal remarks that may attract passing attention or give a clue to themselves. Keep personal shit personal. You know how many times I'm in a subway and people are talking about some serious personal shit that's one should never call out a name in public unless it is absolutely unavoidable. A young girl who was separated from her friends in a baseball crowd had the presence of mind to put her hat on her parasol and lift it above the people surrounding her so that her friends might find her. Do not attract attention to yourself in public. This is one of the fundamental rules of good breeding. Shun conspicuous manners, conspicuous clothes, a loud voice, staring at people, knocking into them, talking across anyone. In a word, do not attract attention to yourself. And I mean, I love that. Just chill, be subdued, don't talk over people, don't shout over things. Like, just don't be loud, don't be loud in clothing or acting. I do like being loud clothing-wise, though, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, not really like loud, like obnoxious, but just kind of like thoughtful of like, that's interesting what she did there. Which is kind of loud, but it's like classy. I like it. Don't be a fucking prick. Yeah, Dan. This all ties into alchemy, eh? Talking loud, using names, all manifestations of ego. Is it proper to talk on a cell phone in a checkout line? I would say no, unless it's like an emergency or you're just like quickly like discussing something about your shopping that you need to like talk to another person about. Like, that is like whatever, I get it. But like, I hate those people that are talking about personal things like throughout a checkout. Like, nope. The regressive left would really benefit from this channel. Yes, I think the regressive left would benefit, and also some of the dissident right, because there's this concept of a women's place, men and women, chivalry, simping, and all this stuff. So I think that I think this is all really good stuff, and this is why I'm putting it out there, because I definitely do think. Originally, I started this because I think the left could understand these concepts, because they like to control people's thoughts, feelings, actions, writing, speech, and all this stuff to try to control people. But we already have a mechanism in place for social cohesion, and it is etiquette. So let's like re-look into that kind of stuff. But they hate it because you treat men and women differently. There's all sorts of different levels that you associate people with, and they don't like that. But anyway. Okay, let's get back into it. In a word, do not attract attention to yourself. Do not espouse your private affairs, feelings, or innermost thoughts in public. You are knocking down the walls of your house when you do so. So good. Do not espouse your private affairs, feelings, or innermost thoughts in public. You are knocking down the walls of your house when you do so. I love that. There are things in private and there are things in public. This is also something I think both the left and the right can kind of should understand. There are walls. I certainly build them for myself, my personal life, and I don't like to share things beyond my personal space, which is why I'm not one of the streamers that's just like with the bed behind me or something. I have like a window and normally I have a green screen, but like I like certain things private, and yeah, there should be a separation between the walls of your house and the public, for sure. Etiquette is self-control. Thanks, William P. Okay, gentlemen in bundles. Nearly all books on etiquette insist that a gentleman must offer to carry a lady's bundles. I remember this part now. It's really cute. Bundles do not suggest a lady in the first place, and as for gentlemen and bundles, they don't go together at all. Very neat packages that could never without injury to their pride be designated as bundles are different. Such, for instance, might be a square, smoothly wrapped box of cigars, candy, or books. Also, a gentleman might carry flowers or a basket of fruit, or in fact, any package that looks tempting. He might even stagger under bags and suitcases or a small trunk, but carry a bundle not twice. And yet, many an unknowing woman, sometimes a very young and pretty one too, has asked a relative, a neighbor, or an admirer to carry something suggestive of a pillow, done up in crinkled paper and odd things of jointed strings. Then she wonders afterwards in delighted surprise why her cousin or her neighbor or her admirer, who is one of the smartest men in town, never comes to see her anymore. Okay, so you can carry like nearly all books on etiquette must offer to carry ladies' bundles. Bundles are not. I don't know. So you're not supposed to carry ladies' bundles, right? Like, bundles are like little private, little girly things and whatever. Like, is that like when girls want guys to carry their purse when they're in public, and it's just like super not manly to be carrying some purse for a girl? Like, it's really rude of the girl to ask a guy to carry a purse, which is I try not to do. Damn, I have to pee again. Fuck. I drink way too much coffee. A gentleman offers his arm. To an old lady or to an invalid, a gentleman offers his arm if either of them wants his support. Otherwise, a lady no longer leans upon a gentleman in the daytime unless to cross a very crowded thoroughfare or to be helped over a rough piece of road or under other impending circumstances. In accompanying a lady anywhere at night, whether down the steps of a house or from one building to another, or when walking a distance, a gentleman always offers his arm. The reason is that in her thin, high-heeled slippers, and when it is too dark to see her foothold clearly, she is likely to trip. Under any of these circumstances, when he proffers his assistance, he might say, "Do you think you had better take my arm?" Or you might trip. Or, "Would it be easier if you took my arm along here? The going is pretty bad." Do not... Otherwise, the only occasion on which a gentleman offers his arm to a lady are in taking her in a formal dinner or taking her into a supper or a ball, or when he is an usher at a wedding. Even in walking across a ballroom, except at a public ball in the Grand March, it is the present fashion for the younger generation to walk side by side, never arm in arm. This, however, is merely an instance where etiquette and the custom of the moment differ. Old-fashioned gentlemen still offer their arm, and it is, and long will be, in accordance with etiquette to do so, but etiquette does not permit a gentleman to take a lady's arm. In seeing a lady to her carriage or motor, it is quite correct for a gentleman to put his hand under her elbow to assist her, and in helping her out, he should alight first and offer her his hand. He should not hold a parasol over her head unless momentarily while she searches in her wrist bag for something, or stops perhaps to put on or take off her glove, or do anything that occupies both hands. With an umbrella, the case is different, especially in a sudden and driving rain, when she is often very busily occupied in trying to hold good clothes out of the wet, and a hat on as well. She may also, under these circumstances, take the gentleman's arm if the going is thereby made any easier. So just like always try to make it easy for the woman, no matter what the circumstances are. If she has like all the stuff in her hands, you always like kind of try to take one thing and make things easier. So you don't need to do the whole hold an umbrella under her unless it's like raining or some shit, or she's like has her hands occupied. So just makes sense. Just makes sense. Yeah. Okay, I'll get going. A lady never on the left. The owner always sits on the right hand of the rear seat of a carriage or a motor. that is driving by a coachman or a chauffeur. Okay, let me read this again. The owner always sits on the right-hand side of the rear seat of a carriage or a motor that is driven by a coachman or chauffeur. So if someone is driving, the owner sits behind the right-hand seat of the front, in the back. If the vehicle belongs to a lady, she should take her own place always, unless she relinquishes it to a guest whose rank is above her own, such as that of the wife of the president or the governor. If a man is the owner, he must, on the contrary, give a lady the right-hand seat. Whether in a private carriage, a car, or a taxi, a lady must never sit on a gentleman's left, because according to European etiquette, a lady on the left is not a lady. Although this etiquette is not strictly observed in America, no gentleman should risk allowing even a single foreigner to misinterpret a lady's position. I didn't know about sitting in the rear of a car. Lady never to the left. And although it's not strictly that way in America, no gentleman should risk allowing even a single foreigner to misinterpret a lady's position. See? Respect for women. And this is what the left don't understand, and this is what the right don't understand. You know what I mean? Oh, Dave Incognito, I didn't get a notification for your super chat, but he gave $5. It said there's a song with the lyrics well versed in etiquette, but I can't remember anything else about it. Ooh, I would love to know what that is. Oh, Killer Queen? Killer Queen? Is it really? Evolution makes men take care of females. Females make themselves fragile, and this etiquette forces men to go with this to the extreme. This is basically a guide to satisfy evolutionary urges. Sure. Vince Clark said, I just learned something. Thank you. You're welcome. This is what I love doing. It's a lot of material to go through. Awkward questions of payment. So someone in the chat asked about payment, and I knew we were getting to it. It was on the list, so here we go. It is becoming much less customary than it used to be for a gentleman to offer to pay a lady's way. If in taking a ferry or a subway, a young woman stops to buy magazines, chocolates, or other trifles, a young man accompanying her usually offers to pay for them. She quite as well usually answers, "Don't bother, I have it," and puts the change on the counter. It would be awkward for him to protest and bad taste to press the point. But usually in small matters such as a subway fare, he pays for two. If he invites her to go to a ball game or to a matinee or to tea, he naturally buys the ticket and any refreshments which they may have. So that's interesting. Like, just a gentlemanly thing to do when you're out and about with a woman and she like wants to buy like some candy or like something is just pay for it. It's just kind of cute and old-fashioned, and it should be respected. And usually, you know, like it says, a woman can say no, it's okay, it's fine. So there's definitely a balance there of her saying no, it's okay. It's not just like, okay, pay for it, I want this and I want that. It's like, it's just a way of it being genuine and really, really nice. And you can always interpret it in a perverse way and try to make something out of this that it's not, but just they try to give you examples so that you can kind of understand the genuine nature of like the flow of the etiquette. And so going on the subway or there's like a cab or whatever, most men just pay for it, especially if it was their idea to go out or whatever. Yeah, so if it was his idea to go out, he pays for it. Very often it happens that a woman and a young man who are bound for the same house party at a few hours distance from the place where they both live take the same train either by accident or by prearrangement. In this case, the young woman should pay for every item of her journey. She should not let her companion pay for her parlor, car seat, or for her luncheon, nor should he, when they arrive at their destination, tip the porter for carrying her bag. So again, they're painting a picture of when it is necessary and when it's not necessary. So like, don't go to extremes with this concept. So like, if you are going to somewhere and you happen to bump into someone on your journey going there, and you happen to know them, you don't pay for her shit. Like, she got that shit on her own. Like, you guys are both going to the same party, but like separately. Like, he's not in charge of paying for everything in that situation. A gentleman who is by chance sitting, and that makes sense. I mean, wouldn't that be like annoying and awkward for like a man to have to, just because he bumped into someone that he knows like on this journey? Like, no. A gentleman who is by chance sitting next to a lady of his acquaintance on a train or boat should never think of offering to pay for her seat or for anything she may buy from the vendor. Fair. Makes sense. That makes sense. Tippy Tail McKitty gave $2 and said, "Hi, Martina." Thank you. Anyway, get back to it. Oh wait, let's see what time we're at. Okay, 31 minutes. I think in like 9 minutes I want to take a pee break. It's probably not good etiquette to tell you that I have to use the restroom in 9 minutes. So the, quote, escort. It's interesting that it's in quote, makes you think it's something else. Anyway, notwithstanding the fact that he is met all dressed in his best store clothes with his lady friend leaning on his arm in the pages of counterfeit society novels and authoritative books on etiquette, there is no such actual person known to good society, at least not in New York or any great city. As an escort, he's not only known, but he is impossible. What the fuck are they talking about? In good society, ladies do not go about under the care of gentlemen. It is unheard of for gentlemen to take a young girl alone to a dance or to dine or to parties of any description, nor can she accept his sponsorship anywhere whatsoever. A well-behaved young girl goes to public dances only when properly chaperoned, and to a private dance with her mother, or else accompanied by her maid who waits for her the entire evening in the dressing room. It is not only improper, it is impossible for any man to take a lady to a party of any sort to which she has not been personally invited by the hostess. Wow. Harsh. Modern time, degenerate New York. I have to say, I'm kind of guilty at that times. I will be like, well, it's just like someone invited me to a party, like whatever. You kind of just bounce around to parties and you go to things. It's really not a big deal, but it is really interesting to see it the way that Emily Post wrote it. I do see that aspect of it being like inappropriate, but it's kind of weird in New York because like you always just get a random invite, not by the hostess, but like, hey, there's this like thing happening, like come to this event, come to that event, and it's like that's what you do in New York. But damn, got called out by Emily Post. Fuck. A lady may never be under the protection of a man anywhere. A young girl is not even taken about by her betrothed. His friends send invitations to her on his account. It is true, and if possible, he accompanies her. But correct invitations must be sent by them to her, or she should not go. Older ladies are often thoughtless and say to a young man, "Bring your fiancée to see me." His answer should be, "Indeed, I'd love to anytime you telephone her," or "I know she'd love to come if you'd ask her." If the lady stupidly persists in casually saying, "Do bring her," he must smile and say lightly, "But I can't bring her without an invitation from you," or he merely evades the issue and does not bring her. Damn, Granny got called out too. She has to personally invite someone's like other person or fiance or something and say, oh, I'd like to meet her, bring her to this thing, like she has to personally invite her, and the guy keeps declining until he makes it clear, like, no, you need to invite her yourself. Damn, Granny got called out too. Jay says Grandma got put on blast. Fuck. Ended her career. Fuck, my neck is killing me now. I'm lurching with my neck forward. It's terrible. I guess it respects women that she's wanted, not merely a carry-on. Thanks, Mr. Schnickers. That's true. It's a very good point. Dan said, my wife often feels uncomfortable if someone says bring her unless she's specifically invited. Yeah, it can be an awkward, like, third wheel situation. Jay, I'm going to turn into that figure that they made of, like, the future person who just sits on the computer all day with, like, cankles and is, like, lurched forward with, like, a hunchback. That's me. Oh, I'm having a cramp in my stomach, too, from lurching and leaning forward and then, like, drinking nothing but coffee all the time. Okay. Let's get to it. The restaurant check. Everyone has at some time or other been subjected to the awkward moment when their waiter presents the check to the host. For a host to count up the items is suggestive of parsimony. While, what is that? Hold on. Let me look this up. What is this? What is this?
Parsimony.
Parsimony. Extreme unwillingness to spend money or use resources. Being careful with money. Okay, so everyone has at the time or other been subjected to the awkward moment when the waiter presents the check to the host. For a host to count up the items is suggestive of parsimony, while not to look at them is disconcertingly reckless. And to pay before their faces for what his gestures have eaten is embarrassing. Having the check presented to a hostess when gentlemen are among her guests is more unpleasant. Therefore, to avoid this whole transaction, people who have not charged accounts should order the meal ahead and at the same time pay for it in advance, including the waiter's tip. Charge customers should make arrangements to have the check presented to them elsewhere than at the table. Okay, so what they're saying is to avoid this whole transaction, people who have not charged accounts should order the meal ahead. I think because this is like from like way in the past, they're like talking funny about money, and we have a different way of paying nowadays. Like I think they're talking about charge like on the card, and then they have cash. It scared me. Thank you. Thanks, fuck Google too. $5. Thank you, Steven4X, for the link. Charge account equals tab. To be settled later, I guess. Okay. Customers who have an account with the restaurant, they pay later. Interesting. Okay, this is actually really interesting thing that they're saying right now, and it's very clever. So they're saying people who have not charge accounts should order the meal ahead at the same time pay for it in advance, including the waiter's tip. So go, like, if you know you're going to be going to this thing and it's going to be this whole thing with the bill and blah, 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 basically like order ahead of time and pay for it like on the spot before anything happens, right? You're already done. Like that. I really, really like that. So you don't have to deal with all that bullshit later and people being like, blah, 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 blah. Be like, I pre-ordered and paid for my shit. Rest is on you guys. I like that a lot. And then they say, including the tip and everything. So you're like, charge customers should make arrangements to have the check presented to them elsewhere than at the table. So you never even like deal with transactions with money and making it awkward with anyone. So if you do have a charge account, you like deal with like your check outside of the table. I love that. Love it. Shit, that's a good technique, man. That's a good technique. Yeah, Jack. Jack, I was hoping you heard that because I was like, damn, I have to tell Jack about this. This is such a good idea. Shit, Jack, we have to employ that. So what we're going to do, because instead of like it being like the super fancy thing where we know where we're going to go and you like pre-order and like pay for it, what you do is even when you are there and you order whatever, just go up to the front or your server and just like pay for it ahead of time and then just sit back down. Is that like sneaky? I kind of like that. Seeing that it's in 1924, it ain't credit card. Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, what? Like, what are they talking about? Jack says, I pay for what I bought and ate and do not split bills. I ain't paying for someone else's food and I don't expect anyone to pay for mine either. A tab. I saw it on Goodfellas, but they pay later. Okay. I find that super cringe. I like the pre-order thing a lot. That's a good idea. Yeah, me too, Jack. We're going to do that. My stepdad is a real right wad. I have seen him get out a damn calculator at the table before now. Jeez. We're doing that, Martina. No, listen, don't get me wrong. I don't have a problem with, like, splitting if it's just, like, pretty, like, even. Like, we all got the same amount of drinks. We all, like, our food was roughly around the same price. Like, we all had the same amount, like, whatever. Just, like, even split. Boom. I have no problem with that. But there are times where it's just kind of like, this is going to get real bad. And I'm not going to get what I paid for, so... Yeah. I just don't get a damn calculator out. Yeah, I mean, there's times where, like, splitting makes sense. I get it. If it's, like, all pretty much legit even, but if it's this thing where some people are ordering water, some people are ordering cocktails, some people are ordering just an app, some people are ordering crazy shit. Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's get back to the lesson. Oh, wait, no, I think I have a bathroom break, but now I have like 50 people in here, and I don't think I should go on a break yet. Fuck. Damn it. Okay. I'll try to hold it as I drink more coffee. But anyway, in stores or shops. Lack of consideration for those in any capacity. Lack of consideration for those who in any capacity serve you is always an evidence of ill breeding as well as of inexcusable selfishness. So, being rude to people that serve you shows ill breeding and inexcusable selfishness. Occasionally, a so-called lady who has nothing whatever to do but drive uptown or down in her comfortable limousine vents her irritability upon a saleswoman at a crowded counter in a store because she does not leave other customers. Because she does not leave because she does not leave, other customers wait immediately upon her. Then perhaps when the article she asked for is not to be had, she complains to the floor worker about the saleswoman's stupidity or having nothing that she can think of to occupy an empty hour on her hands.
Thanks for holding his pee.
Thank you, Rezakai. That's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. He said, thanks for holding the pee. Alright, sorry, I'm struggling through this. It's just like sometimes the way that they like present a story is like, what's happening? Like some lady that drives up and down town in a limousine and is just like being really irritable and shit. Yeah. So basically they're just explaining some like bitchy lady, or having nothing she can occupy, an empty hour on her hands. She demands that every sort of material be dragged down from the shelves, until discovering that it is at last time for her appointment. She yawns and leaves. Of course, on the other hand, there is the genuinely lethargic saleswoman whose mind doesn't seem to register a single syllable that you have said to her, who, with complete indifference to you and your preferences, insists on showing what you distinctly say you do not want, and who caps the climax by drawing they are wearing it this season. Oh my god, I hate that too. Does that sort of saleswoman ever succeed in selling anything? Does anyone living buy anything because someone who knows nothing tells another who is often an expert that what an indiscriminating they may be doing? That kind of saleswoman would try to sell Chrysler that they are not using violins this season. I don't know what this Chrysler is. Whatever. There are always two sides of the case, of course, and it is a credit to good manners that there is scarcely ever any friction in stores and shops of the first class. Salesmen and women are usually persons who are both patient and polite, and their customers are more often ladies, in fact, as well by courtesy. Between those before and those behind the counters, there has sprung up in many instances relationship of mutual goodwill and friendliness. It is, in fact, only the woman who is afraid that someone may encroach upon her exceedingly insecure dignity who shows neither courtesy nor consideration to any except those whom she considers it to her advantage to please. Oh my god, I hate those women. I know some people. And Jay, this is one of our Illuminati chat, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink, our Illuminati chat. Some people out there are just only courteous to people if it can like advance them and benefit them. I've seen some people ask, who was like talking to me, that had a camera in their hand at some event, like, oh, who are you with? And they were just like, oh, it's a small podcast online. And then she completely turns her head because it's not some major like media, some major press, and it's just like couldn't be bothered by him because he's not like a big deal. And I was just like, wow, like that is crazy to think like that. A true lady is always just polite to everyone, acts accordingly and appropriate to like everyone, especially if it's someone serving her, or someone working somewhere. Being polite is super, super important to those kinds of people. Regard for others. So that's the basic principle here. Consideration for the rights and feelings of others is not merely a rule for behavior in public, but the very foundation upon which social life is built. Now, yes, I agree with that. Now, we shouldn't be scared as conservatives about the feelings of others. You know, it's not that we don't care about other people. It's just we don't want to create mandates and like laws based on people's feelings. But, you know, on our own, in our own guidelines, our own law, moral etiquette law, we do care about other people's feelings. It's just, we're not making it like illegal to like misgender someone or something crazy, hurt someone's feeling. Rule of etiquette, the first, which hundreds of others merely paraphrase or explain or elaborate, is never do anything that is unpleasant to others. Never take more than you share, whether of the road in driving a car, or chairs on a boat, or a seat on a train, or food at a table. People who picnic along the public highway, leaving a clutter of greasy paper and swill, not a pretty name, but neither is it a pretty object. For other people who walk or drive past, and to make a breeding place for flies and furnish nourishments for rats, choose a distinguished way to repay the landowner for the liberty they took in temporarily occupying his property. Again, those like trashy people, and they go out and then they leave their litter when they go out and they're enjoying that nice piece of park or land or whatever it is, and they get to enjoy it and have absolutely no regard for the owner or anyone else that's going to occupy that piece of land or park after them. Rude. Kind of like when you go to Costco and you are trying to get like a pizza slice or something, and or a hot dog or something, and then you like have all this like trash everywhere at those benches because everyone before you decided they are going to consume things and leave their trash out and not use the receptacle bin that is right there. Anyway, crazy. I hate people sometimes. Jay says the Costco food court is the literal shittle special in the UK. Martina is referencing an actual incident we had at Costco. I am. I was really pissed. People are so dirty. It's a specific kind of British trash that was there. Kind of British, if you know what I mean. They're in England, but not natives. If you're in the UK, you have the joy of little black bags of dog shite tied to the trees on the nice country walks. Nice. Well, I am quite surprised because we actually went through the entire chapter that I had planned on doing. So, and we're an hour in. It's time for my commercial break. So I will update the screen on the break too, or maybe after the break, and we will add the new chapter. Let's see what chapter we're working with here. We have chapter 6, at the opera, the theater, and other public gatherings. So exciting. Okay, we're gonna figure out exactly maybe some new tricks, like how we learned about paying a tab or bill. Maybe we'll learn some new things. And Jack, we can learn about the opera. That's exciting. Good. We get to learn a little bit about the etiquette of the opera before we go to an opera. Fabulous. And the theater. And other public gatherings. How exciting. So that is what we will do after the break. So stick around. Don't go anywhere, guys. Enjoy the music. I will be right back. Okay? Stick around.
We live in an era when our cities are armed with steel and concrete. Computers and electronics barricade our minds. It doesn't change the fact that there exist a lot of strange phenomena, bizarre beyond reason or logic. Most folks just don't see them. That's because we cling to order, to any tiny happiness that comes our way, and we bust our humps to blind ourselves with our desires and our pleasures. There's a world of darkness out there, beyond time or space. A world filled with evil that's undeniably real. And in that world, there are things that run wild.
Every morning I wake up alone and palm slam a VHS into the slot. It is Chronicles of Riddick. Chronicles of Riddick. Every morning I wake up alone and palm slam a VHS into the slot. It is Chronicles of Riddick. Chronicles of Riddick. And right then and there I start doing the moves alongside with the main character, Riddick. And right then and there I start doing the moves alongside with the main character, Riddick. I do every move and I do every move hard, making whooshing sounds when I slam down some necro bastards, or even when I mess up technique. Not many can say they escaped the galaxy's most dangerous prison. I can. And I say it out loud. I say it and I say it out loud. I say it and I say it out loud. I say it and I say it out loud. I say it and say it out loud. I say it and I say it out loud. I say it and I say it out loud. I say it and I say it out loud. I say it and I say it out loud. I say it and I say it out loud. I say it and I say it out loud. I say it and I say it out loud. Every day to people in my college class, and all they do is prove people in college class can still be immature jerks.
Hey guys, so I'm just trying to update this thing Didn't want to keep you guys waiting too long, but I'm updating this thing to give us a guide. Give us some sort of guide, what we're working with today. Okay. A little bit more. Let's see what we're working with. Going down the aisles of the theater. Did I have that already? Nope. Okay. Going down the aisle of a theater. Let's see what else we have. Good manners at the theater. Jeez, it's a lot. Very inconsiderable to giggle and talk. You think? Very inconsiderable to giggle and talk. I guess we'll just leave it there. We're racking up, so we'll see where we're at after that. Working with this. Okay, back to this. Gotta go back though. Okay, chapter 6 at the opera. At the opera, the theater, and other public gatherings. Accepting a religious ceremonial, there is no occasion where greater dignity of manner is required of ladies and gentlemen both. Accepting a religious ceremonial, there's no occasion where greater dignity of manner is required of both ladies and gentlemen than in occupying a box at the opera. For a gentleman especially, no other etiquette is so exacting. In walking about in the foyer of the opera house, a gentleman leaves his coat in the box or in his orchestra chair, but he always wears his high hat. Okay. So, when you are... Etiquette at the opera is super important, is what they're saying. It's like one of the most important things is at the opera. And when walking about in the foyer of the opera house, a gentleman leaves his coat in the box, so in your area, or in his orchestra chair, but he always wears his high hat. The collapsible hat is for use in the seats rather than in the boxes, but it can be worn perfectly well by a guest in the latter if he hasn't a silk one. A gentleman must always be in full dress, tailcoat, white waistcoat, white tie, and white gloves, whether he is seated in the orchestra or box. He wears white gloves nowhere else except at a ball or when usher at a wedding. So yeah, there's something called there's black tie events, but there's something called a white tie, where sounds like it's what they're saying is the opera is a white tie event with the hat and the tails and the gloves, and men wear white gloves only for certain occasions, which would be a ball, a white tie event, when an usher at a wedding, and at the opera. As people usually dine with their hostess before the opera, they arrive together. The gentlemen assist the ladies to lay off their wraps. One of the gentlemen, which is nearest, draws back the curtain dividing the anteroom from the box, and the ladies enter, followed by the gentleman. So basically when you're approaching your box and you like pull back, a man pulls back the curtain, the ladies enter, and then you walk through it. The last of whom closes the curtain again. If there are two ladies beside the hostess, the latter places her most distinguishable or older guest in the corner nearest the stage. The seat furthest from the stage is always her own. The older guest takes her seat first, then the hostess takes her place, whereupon the third lady goes forward in the center to the front of the box and stands until one of the gentlemen places a chair for her between the other two. The chairs are arranged in 3 rows, one on either side with an aisle left between. One of the duties of the gentleman is to see that the curtains at the back of the box remain tightly closed, as the light from the anteroom shining in the faces of others in the audience across the house is very disagreeable to them. A gentleman never sits in the front row of a box, even though he is for a time alone in it. So, yeah. Then open the door to the curtain into the box, let the women in, close the curtain, always give the best seat in the house to an elder, someone more important, to women, sit down after the guests have taken their seat, and the men's job is to make sure that the curtain in the back of the box always remains closed because the light is disagreeable to people in the theater. As to visiting, it is the custom for a gentleman who is a guest in one box to pay visits to friends in other boxes during the look at me being like not very posh. Don't know how to say this word. He must visit none but ladies of his acquaintance and must never enter a box in which he knows only the gentleman, and expect to be introduced to the ladies. If Arthur Norman, for instance, wishes to present a gentleman to Mrs. Gilding in her box at the opera, he must first ask her if he may bring his friend James Dawson. He would on no account speak of him as Mr. Dawson unless he is an elderly person. A lady's box at the opera is actually her house, and only those who are acceptable as visitors in her house should be asked to be admitted. I love that. You know how many rude, drunk-ass men would just like walk into people's boxes and being like, "Hey, bro, what's your name?" Rude. Don't be rude. Okay, Jack, what are you saying? Oh my god, you guys are talking about strip clubs. Jesus fucking Christ. We're talking about the opera here. Talking about the opera, some like white tie event, and you guys talking about strip clubs. Anyway, we're going back to Mrs. Worldly in here, so let's see what happens here. Shit, where were we? But it is quite correct for a gentleman to go into a stranger's box to speak to a lady who is a friend of his, just as he would go see her if she were staying in a stranger's house. But he should not go into the box of one he does not know to speak to a lady with whom he has only a slight acquaintance, since visits are not paid quite so casually to ladies who are themselves visitors. Upon a gentleman's entering a box, it is obligatory for whoever is sitting behind the lady to whom the arriving gentleman's visit is addressed to relinquish his chair. Another point of etiquette is that a gentleman must never leave the ladies of his own box alone. Occasionally, it happens that the gentlemen in Mrs. Gilding's box, for instance, have all relinquished their places to visitors and have themselves gone to Mrs. Worldly's or Mrs. Jones's or Mrs. Towns's boxes. Mrs. Gilding's guests must, from the vantage point of the Worldly Jones or Town boxes, keep a watchful eye on their hostess and instantly return to her support when they see her visitors about to leave, even though the ladies whom they are momentarily visiting be left to themselves. It is, of course, the duty of the other gentlemen who came to the opera with Mrs. Worldly, Mrs. Jones, and Mrs. Town to hurry to them. A gentleman must never stay in any box that he does not belong in. After the lowering of the lights for the curtain, so gentleman must never stay in a box that he does not belong in after the lowering of the lights for the curtain. So when the show's about to start and the lowering of the lights, the house lights happen, it's like, you better be in your box and not someone else's box. A gentleman must never stay in a box that he doesn't belong in after the lowering of the lights, nor, in spite of cartoons to the contrary, does good taste permit conversation during the performance or during the overture. Box holders arriving late or leaving before the final curtain do so as quietly as possible and always without speaking. I mean, yeah. A brilliant opera night. A brilliant opera night, which one often hears spoken of, meaning merely that all the boxes are occupied and that the ladies are more elaborately dressed than usual. Oh, I love that. A brilliant opera night where everyone's dashing and the boxes are full. It is generally a night when a leader of fashion, such as Mrs. Worldly, Mrs. Gilding, or Mrs. Toplofty, is giving a ball, and most of the holders of the parterre boxes are in ball dresses with an unusual display of jewels, or a house will be particularly brilliant if a very great singer is appearing in a new role, or if a personage can't say it, be present, as when Marshal Joffrey went to the Metropolitan. After the performance, one gentleman, at least, must wait in the carriage lobby until all the ladies in his party have driven away. Never, under any circumstances, may the last gentleman leave a lady standing alone on the sidewalk. It is the duty of the hostess to take all unattended ladies home who have not a private conveyance of their own, but the obligation does not extend to married couples or odd men. If a married lady or widow has ordered her own car to come for her, the odd gentleman waits with her until it appears. It is then considerate for her to offer him a lift, but it is equally proper for her to thank him for waiting and drive off alone. That's cute. Make sure the women are like on their way home before you leave. And that is really appreciated, even with like anyone that I go out meet in the city, like even in New York. Like a proper gentleman is always like, make sure I get home safe, and like, okay, you're good. At the theater, New Yorkers of highest fashion almost never occupy a box at the theater. At the opera, the world of fashion is to be seen in the parterre boxes, not the first tier, and in some boxes at some of those horse shows and at many public charity balls and entertainments. But those in boxes at the theater are usually strangers or outsiders. That's true. Everyone's always a stranger next to you. Even neighbors are strangers. No one can dispute that the best theater seats are those in the center of the orchestra. A box in these days of hatlessness has nothing to recommend it except that the people can sit in a group and gentlemen can go out between the acts easily, but these advantages hardly make up for the disadvantages to 4 or at least 3 out of the 6 box occupants who see scarcely a slice on the stage. Will you dine and go to the play? Cute. Let me just check in on you guys. How are you doing? Imagine if he had a damn top hat on too. New etiquette rule. Giants and fatties sit at the back. Oh my god, yeah, Jack. I remember going to the theater and there was a giant headed man in front of us. We like switched spots like from like the first act to the second act. In the first act I had the giant head, so I was like annoyed. I was like, oh, fucking giant. And Jack's like, this is incredible. And he had like no one in front of him. And then the second one we switched because I kind of complained a little. And he's like, motherfucking giant head. I was like, I know. He's like, I can't see anything. I'm like, I know. So annoying. This book is so specific with its examples. I know, it really is. Dan, it's not even that he was tall. He like legit was like had a big head. He was a big-headed dude, and he was big. Okay, guys. Also, don't forget. Thank you so much for the contributions. We're at 75% today, which is fantastic. But I think I do need to be at 80% today. So if someone wants to help me out, get this to 80% today, you can do so clicking. Where's the link? Going to that giant link over here in green that says streamlabs.com/Martina Markota TV. So doing a little shilling there. I need some water. Thank you, Stephen. Okay, let's get back into it. Hold on. Sorry, I'm just looking at what we're talking about here. Okay. Will you dine and go to the play? There's no more popular or agreeable way of entertaining people than to ask them to dine and go to the play. I love that. That's how we should ask people to hang out more. There's no more popular or agreeable way of entertaining people than to ask them to dine and go to a play. The majority do not even prefer to have opera substituted for play, because those who care for serious music are a minority compared with those who like the theater. If a bachelor gives a small theater party, he usually takes his guests to dine at the Fitzcherry or some other fashionable and amusing restaurant, but a married couple living in their own house are more likely to dine at home, unless they belong to a type of prevalent in New York, which is restaurant mad. The Gildings, in spite of the fact that their own chef is the best there is, are much more apt to dine in a restaurant before going to a play, or if they don't dine in a restaurant, they go out for supper afterwards. But the Normans, if they ask people to dine and go out to the theater, invariably dine at home. At theater, a theater party can, of course, be of any size, but 6 or 8 is the usual number, and the invitations are telephoned. Will Mr. and Mrs. Lovejoy dine with Mr. and Mrs. Norman at 7:30 on Tuesday and go to the play? I love that. Guys, can we all go and dine and go to the play in a group of 6 to 8 and have couples? That's so fucking cute. Is that so cute or what? Is this just me? Rainbow, what are you doing? Why are your messages deleted? Dan says, my wife likes to go out. If I had my way, I'd never leave the house. Actually, me too. I don't like to leave the house. But sometimes it's like, okay, enough is enough. Let's go out of the house. But that is so cute, guys. Let's think about doing stuff like that. Having groups of 6 to 8 people, couples of sorts, and calling them up and inviting them to go out to dine and see a play. So fucking cute. And even dining at home. It's like, come dine in my house and then we'll go out to a play. So cute. Or you can say, will Mr. and Mrs. Oldname dine with Mr. Club Window on Saturday at the Toit Dior and go to the play? When Mr. and Mrs. Oldname accept with pleasure, a second message is given. Dinner will be at 7:30. Yes, with pleasure I accept your offer. Dinner will be at 7:30. Mrs. Norman's guests go to her house. Mr. Doe's guests meet him at the foyer of the Tête d'Or, but the guests at both dinners are taken to the theater by their host. If a dinner is given by a hostess who has no car of her own, a guest will sometimes ask, "Don't you want me to have the car come back for us?" The hostess can either say to an intimate friend, "Why, yes, thank you very much," or to a more formal acquaintance, "No, thank you, just the same, I have ordered taxis." Or she can accept. There is no rule beyond her own feelings in this matter. Mr. Doe takes his guests to the theater in taxis. The Normans, if only the Lovejoys are dining with them, go in Mrs. Norman's little town car. But if there are to be 6 or 8, the ladies go in her car and the gentlemen follow in taxis. Unless Mrs. Worldly or Mrs. Gilding are in the party and order their cars back. Tickets bought in advance. Before inviting anyone to go to a particular play, a hostess must be sure that good tickets are to be had. She should also try to get seats for a play that is new, since it is dull to take people to something they have already seen. This is not difficult in cities where new plays come to town every week, but in New York, where the same one runs for a year or more, it is often a choice between an old good one or a new one that is poor. If intimate friends are coming, a hostess usually asks them what they want to see and tries to get tickets accordingly. It is really unnecessary to add that one must never ask people to go to a place of public amusement and then stand in line to get seats at the time of performance.
Good evening, Martina. I hope you are well.
Thank you, Mr. Schnickers. Thank you so much. I am well now. Thank you. Now we got 76.5%. Thank you. A little bit close to 80. Thank you. Going down the aisle of a theater. The host, or whichever gentleman has the tickets, if there is no host, the hostess usually hands them to one of the gentlemen before leaving her house. Goes down the aisle first and gives the checks to the usher, and the others follow in the order in which they are to sit, in which the hostess must direct. It is necessary that each knows who follows whom, particularly if a theater party arrives after the curtain has gone up. If the hostess forgets, the guests always ask before trooping down the aisles, "How do you want us to sit?" For nothing is more awkward and stupid than to block the aisles at a row where their seats are, while their hostess sorts them, and worse yet, in her effort to be polite, sends the ladies to their seats first and then lets the gentlemen stumble across them to their own places. Going down the aisle is not a question of precedence, but a question of seating. The one who is to sit 8th from the aisle, whether a lady or gentleman, goes first, then the 7th, then the 6th, then if the gentleman with the checks is 5th, he goes in his turn, and the 4th follows him, and etc. If a gentleman and his wife go to the theater alone, the question as to who goes down the aisle first depends on where the usher is. If the usher takes the checks at the head of the aisle, she follows the usher. Otherwise, the gentleman goes first with the checks. When their places are shown to him, he stands aside for his wife to take her place first, and then he takes his. A lady never sits in the aisle seat if she is with a gentleman. Good manners at the theater. In passing across people who are seated, always face the stage and press as close to the backs of the seats as you are facing as you can. Remember also not to drag anything across the heels of those sitting in front of you. At the moving pictures, especially at the movie theater, especially when it is dark and difficult to see, a coat on the arm passing behind a chair can literally devastate the hairdressing of a lady occupying it. If you are obliged to cross in front of someone who gets up to let you pass, say thank you, or thank you very much, or I am very sorry. Do not say pardon me or beg pardon, though you can say I beg your pardon. So you don't say pardon me, you say I beg your pardon. We went over that before. That, however, would be more properly the expression to use if you brush your coat over their heads, or spilled water over them, or did something to them which you should actually beg their pardon. But beg pardon, which is abbreviation, is one of the phrases never said in best society. Gentlemen who want to go out after every act should always be sure to get aisle seats. There are no greater theater pests than those who come back after the curtain has gone up and temporarily snuff out the view of everyone behind them, as well as annoy those who are obliged to stand up and let them by. Between the acts, nearly all gentlemen go out and smoke at least once, but those wedged in far from the aisles who file out every time the curtain drops are utterly lacking in consideration for others. If there are 5 acts, they should at most go out for 2 entrances, and even then be careful to come back before the curtain goes up. So yeah, that's true. Be really considerable about like aisles and going through people and all that stuff. Dine on some bat soup at my humble abode, says Jay. Oh my god! Dan says, I'm sorry. Dan's a true story. I was at the theater once, aisle seat, and during the movie I felt something on my arm. I look down and I see a toe of the guy behind me peeking through his sandals, resting on my arm. There has to be some etiquette on toe contact in the theater. Oh my god, it's so funny. Shit, I'm sorry. It's like so funny to me. Fuck. Oh. Shit. Very inconsiderable to giggle and talk. Shit, we're flying through this shit, because that was the last thing on the other thing that I just sorted out. So let's see what's after this. Nothing shows less consideration for others than to whisper and rattle programs and giggle and even make audible remarks throughout a performance. Very young people love to go to the theater in droves called theater parties, and absolutely ruin the evening for others who happen to sit in front of them. I remember being a kid and going to the movie theater and that happening with like other people my age that were out. I was quiet, but they were obnoxious and got kicked out. If Mary and Johnny and Susie and Tommy want to talk and giggle, why not arrange chairs and rows for them in a drawing room? Turn on a phonograph as an accompaniment and let them sit there and chatter. Agreed, Emily Post. If those behind you insist on talking, it is very good policy to turn around. If those behind you insist on talking, it is never, I was going to say, that doesn't sound right. It is never good policy to turn around and glare. Jack. If you are young, they pay no attention. And if you are older, most young people think an angry older person is the funniest sight on earth. Damn, if Emily Post only knew Zoomers. The way that they talk to older people. The small boy throws a snowball at an elderly gentleman for no other reason. The only thing you can do is to say amiably, I'm sorry, but I can't hear anything while you talk. If they still persist, you can ask an usher to call the manager. That's what I would do. I would secretly be like, you're really loud. Can you just get them to be quiet? Thanks. The sentimental may as well realize that every word said above a whisper is easily heard by those sitting directly in front, and those who tell family or other private affairs might as well might do well to remember this also. As a matter of fact, comparatively few people are ever anything but well behaved. Those who arrive late and stand long, leisurely removing their wraps, and who insist on laughing and talking are rarely encountered. Most people take their seats as quietly and quickly as they possibly can, and are quite as much interested in the play and therefore as attentive and quiet as you are. A very annoying person at the movies is one who reads every caption out loud. That's really funny. Well, nowadays, Emily Post, but we have Jack. Remember going to the movie theater and there were those people behind us that constantly had their phone going off and talking to people and were really loud and saying all sorts of shit. And I think even, what the fuck is that? Is that some toe action? Stephen Forex!
I just really wanted to use this toe gif.
That was so weird. Oh my god. Dan, that was a toe gif for you. That was a toe gif for you. Oh. Jack. Jack said I would bring the whole performance to a standstill if someone put their toe on me. Why is it so funny to me? Holy shit. Oh, by the way, guys, do you like my leggings? Cool, right? Oh my god, so funny. Dan, excuse me, would you ask this gentleman to remove his toe from my arm? I don't know why it's so funny. It's so funny to me. Excuse me, would you ask this gentleman to remove his toe from my arm? Oh my god. Martina's losing her damn mind. I'm sorry, that toe. It just makes me giggle because it's like, just imagine being in a theater, just sitting there, like, what is that? And that's a fucking toe. Oh, fuck. So funny. Okay, where are we at? Reading captions out loud. Proper theater clothes. At the evening performance in New York, a lady wears a dinner dress, a gentleman a dinner coat, often called a tuxedo. Full dress is not correct, but those going afterwards to a ball can perfectly well go to the theater first if they do not make themselves conspicuous. A lady in a ball dress and many jewels should avoid elaborate hair ornaments and must keep her wrap or at least a sufficiently opaque scarf about her shoulders to avoid attracting people's attention. A gentleman in full dress is not conspicuous. And on the subject of theater dress, it might be tentatively remarked that prinking and makeup in public are all part of an age which cannot see fun in a sparse... excuse me. Let me fix this. And on the subject of theater dress, it might be tentatively remarked that prinking and making up in public are all part of an age which cannot see fun in a farce without bedroom scenes and actors in pajamas and actresses running about in negligees with their hair down. What? An audience which night after night watches people dressing and undressing probably gets into an unconscious habit of dressing or prinking itself. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Stephen Forex, maybe you can help me out. In other days, it was relatively thought that so much as to adjust a hat pin or glance in a glass was lack of breeding. Okay, so I think, like, don't fuss about yourself and don't, like, do your makeup or look in mirrors and, like, be all, like, fussing about your stuff. Don't, like, do that sort of stuff. I would say go to the bathroom and do that shit. But, every well-brought-up young woman was taught that she must finish dressing in her bedchamber, but today, young women in theaters, restaurants, and other public places are continually studying their reflection in little mirrors and patting their hair and powdering their noses and fixing this or adjusting that in a way that Mrs. Old Name's girlhood would have absolutely barred them from good society. Nor can Mrs. Worldly's or Mrs. Old Name's be imagined preening and prinking anywhere. They dress as carefully and as beautifully as possible, but when they turn away from the mirrors in their dressing rooms, they never look in a glass or take note of their appearance until they dress again. It must be granted that Lucy Gilding, Constance Style, Celia Lovejoy, Mary Smartlington, and other well-bred members of the younger set do not put finishing touches on their faces in public as yet. Wow! That's actually really interesting. I am very guilty of that. I mean, obviously not too much, what do they call it? Preening and prinking going on, but I did not realize that it was bad taste or ill breeding. Oh my god. Rain Vault!
Jay requested this gif.
Oh my god. We got some, like, toe action going on in this etiquette chat today. Ridiculous. And you guys are very aware of my constant preening and prinking, because I do it all the time, and I did it last stream so much. I was constantly fussing about and fixing my hair and doing stuff. I did not realize that that is thought-like. That is not proper behavior. Didn't know. Learned something new. Thank you, Emily Post. Good to know. A proper lady sorts herself out in her bedroom. It's a private affair. When she goes out, there's no fussing about and looking at her appearance all the time. The only thing is, I would say make sure you don't have, like, something hanging out of your nose at some point in the day or something. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, you want to go to the bathroom and look in the mirror, make sure you look, okay, you look good. Okay, nothing, no, that's very good. Okay. Or, like, eye boogers. You know, like, big old eye booger all day long because you didn't look in the mirror all day long. It's terrible. Ew. Or what if you have a pimple and then finally the head comes to in the middle of the day and you didn't realize because you don't look in the mirror. I would say look in the mirror here and there, privately in the bathroom. Don't be fussing about in front of people. Prinking apparently means something else now. Urban Dictionary says it means drinking before the party. That's interesting. So glad you took off that filter. I don't know what filter you're talking about because all I did was just like turn off my light. So I can turn that light on and I think it'll just like blow up. I just turned the light off because I figured like the lighting looks better that way. Yeah, the powder room is definitely like what I'm familiar with too. I remember in old like black and white stuff like Seal Ball, I Love Lucy stuff. It was like they would go to the bathroom and powder their nose, which is why I also don't get the whole like sweaty look nowadays, like being all shiny. It's like shine, and I was like, I'm familiar with people going to the bathroom to like powder their nose, make sure they don't look shiny, like hit that powder right here and right here. My dog gets eye boogers. My cat gets eye boogers. Jack picks the cat's eye boogers out. And the cat is very thankful for it and says, I love you. Where are we at? The courtesy of sending tickets early. Most people are at times obliged to take tickets for various charity entertainment balls, theatricals, concerts, or pageants to which, if they do not care to go to them, go themselves, they give away their tickets. Those who intend giving tickets should remember that a message, "Can you use 2 tickets for the Russian ballet tonight?" Lovely, I would. Sent at 7 o'clock that same evening after the Lovejoys have settled themselves for an evening at home, Celia having decided not to curl her hair, understandable, and Donald having that morning sent his only dinner coat to be refaced, cannot give the same pleasure that their earlier offer would have given. An opera box sent on, on the morning of the opera is worse, since to find 4 music-loving people to fill it on such short notice at the height of the season is an undertaking that few care to attempt. A big theater party. A big theater party is one of the favorite entertainments given for a debutante. If 50 or more are to be asked, invitations are sometimes engraved. Mrs. Toplofty requests the pleasure of blank company at the theater and a small dance after in honor of her great niece, Miss Millicent Gilding, on Tuesday, the 6th of January at 8:30 RSVP. I quite love that. We should send emails like that. And usually the general utility invitation, see page 118, is filled in as follows. To meet Miss Millicent Gilding, Mrs. Toplofty requests the pleasure of Miss Rosaline Gray's company at the theater at a dance on Tuesday, the 6th of January at 8:15 RSVP. Or notes in either wording above are written by hand. Love that. All those who accept have a ticket sent to them. Each ticket sent a debutante is accompanied by a visiting card on which is written, "Be in the lobby of the Comedy Theater at 8:15. Order your motor to come for you at 010 Fifth Avenue at 1 a.m. Damn, back then they were going out late, huh? On the evening of the theater party, Mrs. Toplofty herself stands in the lobby to receive the guests. As soon as any who are to sit next to each other have arrived, they are sent into the theater. Each gives her or his ticket to an usher and sits in the place allotted to her or him. It is well for the hostess to have a seat planned for her own use in case thoughtless young peoples mix their tickets up and hand them to an usher in a bunch. And yet, if they do mix themselves to their own satisfaction, she would better leave them than attempt to disturb a plan that may have had more method in it than madness. When the last young girl has arrived, Mrs. Toplofty goes into the theater herself. She does not bother to wait for any boys. And in this one instance, she very likely sits in a stage box as to keep her eye on them, and with her, she has her 2 or 3 of her own friends. After the theater, big motor buses drive them all either to the house of the hostess or to the hotel. They had party buses back in 1922. To the hotel for supper and to dance. If they go to a hotel, a small ballroom must be engaged and the dance is a private one. It would be considered out of place to take a lot of very young people to a public cabaret. Carelessly chaperoned young girls are sometimes, it is true, seen in a very questionable places because some of the so-called dancing restaurants are perfectly fit and proper for them to go to. Many other places, however, are not. And for the sake of general appearances, it is safer to make it a rule that no very young girl should go anywhere after the theater except to a private house or private dance or ball. Older people, on the other hand, very often go for a supper to one of the cabarets for which New York is famous or infamous, or perhaps go watch a vaudeville performance at midnight or dance or do both together. So this is totally New York. It's like after supper you go out to a cabaret, which is what New York is known for. See, that's what people don't understand about Lady Alchemy and like burlesque and all that stuff. It's like live performance is what New York is known for. Opera, Broadway like theater plays, but also cabarets and vaudeville shows and things like that after midnight, or go dancing, or do all of it and do it together, which is a theater that I worked at, was together. Others, if they are among the great majority of quiet people, I love that, go home after the theater, especially if they have dined with their hostess or host before the play. I'm down with that. Don't be late. When you are dining before going to the opera or theater, You must arrive on the stroke of the hour for which you are asked. It is one occasion when it is inexcusable to be late. In accepting an invitation for lunch or dinner after which you are going to a game or any sort of performance, you must not be late. Nothing is more unfair to others who are keen about whatever it is you are going to see than to make them miss the beginning of a performance through your thoughtless selfishness. For this reason, box holders who are music lovers do not ask guests who have the late habit to dine before the opera because experience has taught them that they will miss the overture and most of the first act if they do. Those, on the other hand, who care nothing for music and go to the opera to see people and to be seen, seldom go until most, if not all, of the first act is over. But these, in turn, might give music-loving guests their choice of going along in time for the overture and waiting for them in the box at the opera, or having the pleasure of dining with their hostess but missing most of the first part. So that's just some detailed situation where okay, what's the situation if some people aren't really into this and want to just go for the social aspect, or they just want to go and dine, or vice versa. There's a way to handle all that. Whatever. Look it up if you're interested. At games, the circus, or elsewhere. The circus. Considerate and polite behavior by each member of an audience is the same everywhere. At outdoor games or at the circus, it is not necessary to stop talking. In fact, a good deal of noise is not out of the way in rooting at a match, and a circus band does not demand silence in order to appreciate its cheerful blare. One very great annoyance in open-air gatherings is cigar smoke when blown directly in one's face, or worse yet, the smoke from a smoldering cigar. It is almost worthy of a study in air currents to discover why, with plenty of space all around, a tiny column of smoke will make straight for the nostrils of the very one most nauseated by it. The only other annoyance met with at ball games or parades or whatever people occupy seats at a grandstand is when some few in front get excited and insist on standing up. If those in front stand, those behind naturally have to. Generally, people call out down in front. If they don't stay down, then all those people behind have to stay up. So umbrellas and parasols entirely blot out the view of those behind. Okay. All right. Well, that was... I think we went through a lot. And chapter 7 is about conversation. And this looks really great. I mean, I see you think before you speak already on the screen. Nearly all the faults of mistakes in conversation are caused by not thinking. This is great stuff. A lot of good things going on in this Emily Post. What do you guys think? I mean, I'm learning, and I think it's really entertaining. All right. Feminists will lose their minds over this. Yeah, I know. To be fair, feminists will lose their minds over everything. Learned about toe contact in the theater. Stephen Forex says it's interesting from a nostalgic point of view. It is. It really is, though. All right, guys. Yeah. I don't know, got 10 more minutes-ish if you guys want to chat about all the stuff. What do you guys think is interesting? What did you learn today? Do we want to elaborate on anything? And also, let me see where we're at. Oh my god, guys. I'm at 79%. I'm at 79%. Maybe we can get it to 80% in the next 10 minutes. So 1 more percent. These days, if you look at a girl the wrong way, it's sexual harassment practically. Yeah, that was my point with some of the etiquette in the beginning, was that it's leftist women, modern women tend to be very rude to men saying hello, being polite, or whatever. Most of the times, the men actually aren't that inappropriate. It's totally fine to just say thank you, say hello back, smile, and keep moving, and it's usually fine. Thank you, Kingsley. Kenmore, thank you. So, anything else? If you guys want to chit-chat about it, any questions or concerns, you could always help me get to 80% by going to streamlabs.com/Martina Markota TV. What else? I think we're flowing through some stuff. I like the etiquette. It's fun. Okay, well, I'll get out of here if you guys don't really have anything to talk about. Could always put on a commercial while I go to the bathroom, and then when I come back, I'll take the very last questions and concerns and end it. Keep your toes away from my arm. Let me share that etiquette video. Yeah. Please share it, Stephen. Yep. Do you think I can play it on screen? All right. Alright, if you send me a link, I'll play it. Otherwise, I'm getting out of here. Okay. Alright, sounds good. Too tired tonight. Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow should be just another chit-chat day. Those are kind of fun. Yeah. See you guys tomorrow. Good night. Bye. Okay. Bye.